Lions, your NFC North champs a year ago, 15 wins. They were the 1 seed. 10.5, though, is their over-under. People expecting a big backslide here because it's juice to that under, plus 110 if you want to bet the over. So if you really feel strong about this Lions team, cobbling it together, sans both their coordinators from a season ago, you're getting very good odds here. I won 11. Cal, you won 11, but Brock, you're actually buying this big drop-off with 10.
Yes, and a huge part of that reason is not really the Lions' fault. Well, it is their fault. They won so many games last year that you get a tougher draw, right? That's part of it. But what doesn't get factored in when they say, hey, let's give the Lions when you win a division is when you have 30 different starters on the defensive side of the football. And when a lot of those guys won't be back or be themselves until midway through the year. I understand that Dan Campbell is saying, hey, we got Aiden Hutchinson. There's an Aiden Hutchinson rule. He looks great. He looks awesome. I don't find it disrespectful to say we all need to see it, right? We all need to see that he can be that guy. Then you got names like Malcolm Rodriguez, who we don't know when they're going to come back. We hope they come back. And this cornerback room is already taking hits. How many starting quarterbacks are they going to expect the starting quarterbacks they're going to have come week 1? And what is that depth going to look like later down the road? I mean, you look at the schedule, you got Baltimore, Cincinnati, Kansas City, Tampa Bay, Washington, Philly. None of those games I can really give to the Lions right now. Will not slash and dash Sonic and Knuckles be fun to watch? Absolutely. Is Jared Goff a better decision maker than he gets credit for? Yes. Amon-Ra St. Brown is as fun a slot wide receiver as we can watch. I just feel the odds are stacked against them in regards to the win total. This is still a playoff team, and they can still make some things happen there. But as far as the win total, I got to cap it at 10.
I'll start with the injuries to key positions along the defensive side of the football. And as somebody who went through a lot of these lower body injuries, it takes a long time. And your body may get there in time, but it takes longer for your mind to match that and be able to not think about putting your leg in the ground or that double team coming to get you or the tight end coming across the formation. There's so many things that I have to just wait and see here for the Detroit Lions because there's so many game changers, game wreckers that are in that situation I'm talking about. The cool thing about the Lions this year, and something I'm going to keep my eyes on, is when that wave of health comes back, because we know that they're a talented enough football team to be in the running for the Super Bowl. How much different will this team look come playoff time in a good way? We saw last year that the numbers indicated that the team was just going to be not the same defensively. They may be the team that gets healthy at the end this year, and we could be having a completely different conversation. This is a group that's unfazed. Dan Campbell doesn't blink, and I know his guys don't. That's why the number is what it is for me this season, but it's a wait and see for the Detroit Lions.
Yeah, I think you'd be kidding yourself if you didn't think they'd take a little bit of a step backward. It just is going to be how much. But the biggest thing is with this win total and why you're going to see 3 of the 4 teams in the NFC North are super juiced to the under, and people are betting unders on this division is because they play the NFC East and the AFC North. You know, the 2 other best divisions in football. So they have the hardest schedules going forward, whereas we're going to get to the NFC West. NFC West plays the AFC South and the NFC South. Like the NFC West has a cakewalk of what they have from a just matchup perspective this season. So it's going to be difficult for this NFC North to, 15 wins, 14 wins, 11 wins a year ago. There's no way that's happening. It's just the schedules are too tough this year. So let's get to the Minnesota Vikings, who did themselves have 14 wins last season. 9.5, though, is their over-under, and people are not buying the J.J. McCarthy hype. I went with 9. Kyle went with 8. Brock went with 9, and it's plus 110 if you want to bet that over. So you're getting some plus money if you really think the Vikings have a repeat of last season.
This all comes down to the learning curve of J.J. McCarthy, who's basically having a red shirt rookie season. So watching J.J. through the entirety of his college career at Michigan, covering the Big Ten, the thing about JJ is he doesn't do any physical thing exceptionally, right? It's not like he has the greatest arm, the greatest accuracy. He can run, but he's not the fastest quarterback, right? So why is JJ so special? Why do people fall in love with him? it's a chemistry thing. He gets guys to fall in love with him, to trust him. He has a hive mind with his guys. He knows where they're going to be before they get there, and that can only come with game reps. I feel this first month and a half of football is going to be ugly. They can win some of those games, but it's going to be ugly. It's not like a Cam Ward where, well, if they're open, Cam Ward's going to find him and he's going to chuck that ball and it's going to be perfect, right? That's not what JJ does. It's going to take some time. And once he gets on the same page, once he knows what these guys eat for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, that's when he shines. And that will be in the back half of the season. Quite honestly, after they've spent some time with the losing record, JJ McCarthy will be fine in the NFL. Just buckle up because the first couple weeks are going to be ugly. Jordan Addison isn't even going to be there. So then he has to start fresh with him starting week 4. So there will be a significant learning curve, but buckle up, Vikings fans. It will all be fine in the end, but you will not be winning as many games as you did last year.
Yeah, it feels like to me that the recurring theme in the NFC North is that there are going to be teams that start slower than they finish. And the Minnesota Vikings are a prime example of that with a second year, but let's call him a rookie quarterback in JJ McCarthy, who didn't get to experience NFL action last year. The big complaint for the Vikings was that there was a ceiling for this football team when it came time for rubber to meet the road in meaningful games at the end of the season. And Sam Darnold, and not all of it was Sam Darnold because there's 11 guys on offense every time you're on the field. The team wasn't ready for it. The team didn't show up in the way that their roster's constructed. But look, their coaching can overcome lackluster quarterback play early in the season. Their roster is strong enough to overcome it. Their defense is strong enough to overcome it. Look, J.J. McCarthy may be one of these big-time surprises that if he is just driving the car without running it off the road at the end of the year, this Vikings team could be dangerous. While I have them down for what do I have them down for? 8 wins? Yeah, 8 wins here. Look, they could be. If you told me that they got 10 wins this year, I'd be like, damn, JJ, you went off. Like it's not far fetched.
Yeah, this one just comes down to me to JJ McCarthy. My pre-draft eval on him was not a first-round grade. He's also, he's not a rookie, but he's kind of still a rookie in that you still got to play in the NFL. You still got to see the speed. You still got to see these looks in real time and get up to speed before you really start to master the game. And so he's just not going to be in his final form. He's going to have some mistakes that maybe year 3, year 4 of his career he won't start making. So for all those reasons, the difficult schedule, the first-year quarterback, and the fact that I just don't trust the secondary. I know Brian Flores is a magician. I know he's going to get the best out of it, but there really is only so much you can do when your corners are not players. So when they are not guys who can go one-on-one consistently. So I do think this defense isn't a top 5 defense in the NFL. And that's what they're going to need to get through the schedule to get to double-digit wins. So I went with that. I agree with Packers. 2024, they won 11 games. Their over-under is 9.5, and the only team in the division with minus odds here to go over that. Minus 120 right now. People buying a little bit into the Packers, going double digits again, and we're all buying into it as well. I went 10. Kyle went 11. Brock went 12.
Oh, yeah.
Brock, give it to me. Why am I too low on my own Packers here?
I love Jordan Love. All of this comes down to what you feel about Jordan Love. Not the biggest sample size, but it feels like everyone is so impassioned about it. Well, I'm on the positive side. I'm all in. You go back to last year, and yes, he didn't take that massive leap that everyone was hoping for statistically. But the fact is, he gets, his MCL sprain week 1, a shoulder pops up later, there's a groin injury. He played the entire season banged up. He also had a young wide receiver core that I'm in love with, a wide receiver core that I would say when healthy is deeper than anyone else in the NFL, a wide receiver core that they added to with rookie Matthew Golden. 23 drops last year. Unacceptable. Not going to happen again. Not in a Matt LaFleur offense. All of them are a year older, a year more experienced. How about Josh Jacobs? Proven that forget tread on tires. He just got some brand new tires. This offense is loaded, and this defense has the perfect defensive coordinator in Jeff Hafley. Yes, there are not a lot of names outside of Xavier McKinney who are going to be competing for all-pro spots. I get it. But Jeff Hafley's defense is keep everything in front, If the offense is going to score, make them earn it, and we're going to trust our offense to go down there and score. I am so high on Green Bay. I'm looking at them in the NFC Championship, and they get there via 12 wins.
I like Green Bay as well, and I think it's important to point out that the health inconsistency with Jordan Love was, a big factor in him not having that blockbuster season we were expecting. But I also like that receiver room, and it's important to point out the last time that the Packers had a skilled player that wore a really ugly number was Ty Montgomery at the running back position. Do you remember that offense?
That's right. Yeah.
It was a dangerous offense. That's all I'm saying. So you got number 22, Matthew Golden, out there, who is going to be a true number one receiver for this group. I'm just saying history repeats itself. Beware. I've got the Packers at 11 wins. So right now it's the Lions and the Packers vying for the most wins coming out of the NFC North. And, that's not a very big surprise. And anything can happen in this division. All four of these teams are talented. The offensive line is what I'm going to keep my eye on. They're going to need some guys to step up in a big way. But yeah, 11 wins. I don't see it being too far-fetched. This is a team that can compete for the NFC North title.
I guess the reason I'm just a touch lower, and I do think this offense is going to be very good this year. I have no questions about that. It's just I thought they smoke and mirrors it a little bit defensively. They were very reliant on turnovers a year ago. Those can be fickle from year to year. I just need to see more from this defensive line. I need to see guys like Lucas Van Ness, Rashawn Gary start playing better, Devontae Wyatt take another step forward. If that's the case, that happens, they can be the ones. They're very talented. If that D-line starts playing like where they were drafted to play like, we can talk about them being as good as anyone else in the NFC. But until then, I'm just going to be a little hesitant to say, especially again with their schedule, with that division, that this team is definitely going back to the playoffs. Chicago Bears, last team in the North.
Bears.
5 wins a year ago. Over under is 8.5 this year. That's at plus 115.
Get your heads out of your butts.
I went 7. Brock went 8. Kyle went 9. Kyle, you can kick us off here.
Yeah.
Why are we haters?
Look, it's a different team. You don't know this team, okay? You don't know who this team is. You haven't even seen the starters. We're going to see the starters this weekend. Look, I got to watch this group work in person. I got to hear them. The physicality was evident, and the focus is there. The thing that I think swings a lot of these wins in the National Football League is situational awareness, game management, clock management. There's nobody I want in the driver's seat more than a brilliant offensive mind because they understand that portion of the game as well as anybody. Ben Johnson will not lose the games that are in his hands, okay? But the good news about the 2025 Chicago Bears is that they can keep the game in their hands. Defensively, they've got guys who can cover. They've got exotic type pressure makers on the back end, big time hitters. They've got tackling machines in the middle of the field with guys like TJ Edwards. And now you have this infusion of youth, talent, and then some salty old vets. I mean, Grady Jarrett is in there now for the Chicago Bears. I watched him in practice last week. He looked like the Grady Jarrett that I was always like, I hope I don't have to play against him. In addition to that, guys like Dexter Sr. on the interior are going to continue to develop. Montez Sweat is going to be healthier this year, and I truly anticipate him having a solid year. But the thing that sets this group apart, similar to how the Packers have a murderer's row at the receiver position, and maybe not all of them are CeeDee Lamb type receiver ones, they got a murderer's row in the developmental or in the skill positions, and they're developing a real core of all-stars there. They just need to play within the offense. They need to find a way to get Caleb to be on time. And if they can do that, I anticipate this offense being really, really lethal and venomous. They need to figure out the left tackle spot. Is it going to be Braxton? Is it going to be Ozzie? But outside of that, they're set. I used to tell Bobby Massey, my right tackle, at the end of camp, I'd say, close that spaceship door. We're going to the moon. Nobody else is getting on. Nobody else is coming out. No help is coming. Everybody's in their seats. This is it. So that door is closing very soon for the Chicago Bears, particularly that offensive line. Make sure you got the right guys in the right seats.
Definitely one of the most overlooked and underappreciated defensive efforts from a year ago. Obviously, Caleb Williams being the pick that he was, he's going to get most of the attention. And when you watch the Bears, you're watching for the offense. I get it. But that defense is loaded. And if they can perform at the level that they did last year, they're in place to succeed. Dennis Allen, one of, I feel, the most underappreciated additions in free agency this year. He's going to get the most out of them. So I'm right there with you, Kyle, defensively. Offensively, I see this as a compliment from a win total standpoint. I really do. We didn't see enough last year to really have a basis of understanding of what we're working with here. And Kyle's right about that. We don't know who this team is, but what we do know is Ben Johnson takes talent and puts it in position to succeed. He had Jamison Williams doing reverse passes. Obviously, he shouldn't have thrown that interception. He had Amon-Ra St. Brown doing things. He had left tackles doing things. He gets the most out of everyone. He sees things in guys that they have not done before, that they don't see in themselves. So it's not going to be this year. It's going to be next year. Colston Loveland, for all we know, is going to be the best tight end in the NFL one day. This is a guy who comes from the school of Travis Kelce. This is a guy who has all the physical tools. This is Luther Burden, a young guy, can blow by you, has great routes, has great hands, plays a lot. He's a big dude, man. Thank you. I love that you said that, kind of like Amon-Ra St. Brown in a way. Amon-Ra St. Brown seems like a little slot you can knock over. No, he can lower that boom too. The running back room is a cause for concern for a lot of people. I get it. I would say watch out for Kyle Monungai. I think it was going to be a 7th round pick, if not a free agent. No, he used 7th round pick at Rutgers. Absolute workhorse, will be the starter by midseason. Not a knock on Swift. I'm just letting you know the pieces are there, but it's going to be next year that playoff push really takes shape.
The Bears were the hardest one for me. And I lean more towards what Brock just said there about it feels like next year. And why I say it feels like next year is because Caleb Williams feels like next year. He just, from what I saw as a rookie, it would be transformative for him to be good enough for this team to get over the hump in the NFC North, right? And make the playoffs. It would have to come with a massive, massive year-on-year leap. It's happened before, but it just would be so different. He would have to clean up so many things that were so poor a year ago that I just think it's going to be more of a process than maybe Bears fans would like. It's not always the worst thing in the world. Josh Allen was a process before he became Josh Allen. So it can happen. It's just, that's where I see him in his developmental curve. But I do have to give the hat tip to, Ryan Poles. They've put together enough. They've put together a roster that this is, we said it was one of the best situations a rookie quarterbacks ever stepped into. This is the best situation of any year 2 quarterback at minimum that he has around him. So if